you should try Space Food Sticks for good nutrition and lasting energy in a chewy, tasty snack food.
Some foods were just different in the 70s. Not just tastier, bolder. They didn't whisper for your attention. They shouted from shelves in wild colors, with mascots, jingles, and flavors that felt like a dare. A candy bar longer than your TV remote. A breakfast cereal that turned milk into chocolate. A peanut butter spread that came in banana and cinnamon. Everything was louder, stranger, and somehow better. And yeah, maybe the packaging wasn't eco-friendly. Maybe the food pyramid didn't approve. But these weren't just meals or treats. They were moments. After-school rewards, Saturday morning fuel, lunchbox legends. Most are gone now, replaced by sleek branding and sensible flavors. But the memories? Still fresh. Today, we're dusting off the foil wrappers, digging into pantry history, and reliving 9 unforgettable foods from the 70s that deserve a comeback. Let's start with a treat that came straight from outer space. The foil crinkled like a survival blanket. Inside, a dense brown stick that looked more like science than snack. Before energy bars, before astronaut ice cream, there were space food sticks, created in partnership with NASA and Pillsbury. These chewy snacks came in flavors like chocolate, peanut butter, and caramel. They weren't flashy, but they made you feel like you were part of something bigger. You weren't just chewing, you were fueling up for launch. They lived in lunch boxes, glove compartments, and the pockets of kids who dreamed in zero gravity, not sweet enough to be candy, not hearty enough to be lunch, just futuristic. And yeah, they were weird, but that's what made them great. They vanished quietly in the 80s, too odd for a world moving toward neon snacks and crunchier trends. But to those who remember, space food sticks weren't just food. They were proof you didn't need a cape to feel like a hero. Now let's talk about the snack that made your jaw earn its paycheck. It stretched across your palm like a caramel rope, braided, sticky, wrapped in red with a ruler printed right on it. The Marathon Bar was the king of chewy candy, 8 full inches of twisted caramel covered in chocolate, designed to last. And it did. You couldn't rush it. You couldn't snap it. One bite in, and you were committed. It was candy that demanded time, perfect for movies, road trips, or long afternoons in the back seat. Launched in 1973, its cowboy-themed commercials called it the candy bar you can't eat quickly. They weren't kidding. Your jaw got a workout. Your patience, too. And that made it feel worth it. But by 1981, it disappeared. Maybe the caramel was too much. Maybe fast snacks won. Either way, it vanished, leaving behind nothing but sticky fingers and sweet memories. No bar since has dared to stretch as far or chew as long. But the 70s weren't done surprising us yet, not even close. You opened the jar and smelled chocolate, banana, cinnamon. This wasn't normal peanut butter. This was Kugel, and it was pure 1970s chaos in a jar. Launched by Kraft in 1971, Kugel took the PB formula and cranked the flavor dial. Suddenly, your sandwich could taste like a milkshake or a dessert. The packaging was bold. The mascot was a wild-eyed swirl. The combinations? Banana cinnamon, chocolate vanilla. It was like choosing toppings at an ice cream shop. And unlike regular peanut butter, it spread like frosting. No ripped bread, no sticky roof-of-your-mouth moments. It was fun, a little weird, and totally ours. But by the end of the decade, it disappeared. Too playful for grown-ups, too niche for mass shelves. Still, every kid who dipped a cracker into that swirled goo remembers how it felt. like you were getting away with something delicious. Speaking of strange flavor experiments, let's talk pizza in chip form. The bag crinkled. The smell hit fast. Tomato, garlic, oregano, and just like that, you were hungry. Pizza spins weren't chips. They weren't crackers. They were something in between and totally unforgettable. Released by General Mills in 1968, these swirly snacks crammed all the flavor of pizza into a crunchy, bite-sized wheel. No cheese, no sauce, just pure pizza essence. They looked odd, kind of dry, kind of orange, but one taste, and you got it. Perfect for after-school TV marathons, sleepovers, or sneaking into the movies. They disappeared by 1975, but not before winning over a cult following. And those boxes? Loud, cartoonish, proudly weird. Today, they'd probably get reinvented with kale or cauliflower. But the original? That was flavor first, logic later. Now let's pour some cereal and watch the milk turn pink. The milk didn't just change color. It changed the whole vibe. Crazy Cow looked like basic cereal, but pour in milk, and suddenly you had chocolate or strawberry milk swirling in your bowl. That was the magic. That was the point. Launched by General Mills in 1976, it was part breakfast, part science experiment. The cereal itself? Puffy little balls coated in flavor dust. But the transformation? That was the showstopper. And if you were lucky, your box came with Star Wars trading cards. Cereal and collectibles? Peak childhood. Sure, it was sugary. Sure, it turned your spoon pink. But that last sip of flavored milk? Worth it every time. It vanished quietly in the late 70s. Blame health trends. Blame boring cereal. But anyone who tilted their bowl to get every drop knows. This wasn't just food, it was fun. Still watching? Then you probably remember milk that turned pink and peanut butter that tasted like dessert. Drop "I remember this" in the comments if one of these foods pulled a memory out of nowhere. And if you're watching till the end, just say, "It's home." We'll know you're one of us. If this trip back in time hit the spot, tap that like button and hit subscribe to catch the next wave of forgotten favorites. Because coming up next, we're heading to Yankee Stadium, where chocolate bars once rained from the sky. Let's keep going. You could hear the crinkle of the wrapper before you even saw it. Round, shiny, and heavy in the hand. The Reggie bar wasn't just a treat, it was a tribute. Released in 1978 and named after baseball legend Reggie Jackson, it packed peanuts, caramel, and chocolate into a compact, punchy round. But the real story? That happened at Yankee Stadium. On opening day, fans were handed Reggie bars as they walked in, and when he launched a home run, they threw them onto the field in celebration. Candy as a standing ovation. It started life quietly as the Wayne Bun, a hometown favorite out of Fort Wayne, Indiana. But when Reggie landed in New York, it got repackaged with purpose. For a few golden seasons, it ruled the candy aisle. Then, just like a fastball, it was gone by '81. What's remembered today isn't the flavor, it's the moment. The sound of wrappers flying and a crowd showing love the only way they knew how. Next up, something softer, sweeter, and way more flaky. A breakfast spiral you could smell from the hallway. You could smell it toasting before the kitchen light even flicked on. Danish go-rounds were oval-shaped pastries from Kellogg's, flaky, coiled, and filled with cinnamon or fruit. They looked fancier than Pop-Tarts. They felt fancier than Pop-Tarts. And when they slid out of the toaster with those crisped edges and gooey centers, morning made, they were a little fragile, sometimes broke apart, but that was part of the charm. Flavors included strawberry, apple, and cinnamon. The frosting was subtle. The vibe was bakery in a box. In 1976, Kellogg's swapped them out for Danish rings, sturdier, flatter, but they lacked the go-round magic. Danish go-rounds were messy, flaky, and perfect. And for a sleepy kid in footy pajamas, they were a warm, sweet start to the day. Next, it's cereal combat, mascots in mid-air. You didn't just pour cereal, you chose sides. Baron von Redberry and Sir Grapefellow were rival cereals launched by General Mills in the early 70s. One was all berries and bravado. The other, grape-flavored and gloriously British. Each box had its own slogans, cartoons, and insults. The mascots didn't just sell cereal, they fought for it. The cereal itself? O-shaped pieces with marshmallows. Not revolutionary, but it didn't matter. Redberry had swagger, Grapefellow had class, and breakfast became a battlefield. Kids mixed them together, picked favorites, debated mascots like they were superheroes. It was storytelling with sugar. Eventually, both cereals vanished. Too quirky, maybe. Too bold for long-term shelves. But for a few golden years, breakfast felt like a cartoon you could eat. Coming up next, a frozen tray, an oven timer, and a whole meal you didn't have to share. You peeled back the foil and watched the steam curl up like magic. Dinner didn't need a plate, just a fork, and maybe a little patience. Meat, potatoes, and cherry cobbler, all tucked into their tiny corners. Swanson's TV dinners weren't just food, they were freedom. No pots, no pans, no prep. Just pop it in the oven and wait. They felt space age, gleaming aluminum, perfectly divided, balanced like a space shuttle meal. And when they hit the plate, it was dinner and a show. Salisbury steak in one corner, corn niblets in another, a brownie you had to guard with your life. The peas always sneaked into the dessert, but that was part of the game. Kids sat cross-legged on shag carpet. Parents leaned back for once. Nobody argued over dishes. Were they gourmet? Not even close. But they turned Tuesday night into something that felt special. Today's frozen meals are faster, but they don't feel like anything. Swanson's slowed things down and gave us quiet little evenings we still miss. They weren't just foods. They were bite-sized memories. Space food sticks that felt like moon missions. Marathon bars that slowed you down. Kugel that turned sandwiches into dessert. Pizza spins that defied logic. Crazy cow that colored your milk and your morning. Reggie bars that rained down in stadiums. Danish go-rounds that toasted up flaky and sweet. Cereal mascots with more personality than the cartoons. And TV dinners that made Tuesday feel like a treat. All but one have vanished. But the taste, the smell, the feeling, it's still there, stored away in some corner of your memory. And if just one of these brought it rushing back, then the trip was worth it. Stick around for more, because here at Remember This, the past isn't just history, it's home.